Welcome to CGTN Focus Group on Boao Forum for Asia. I'm reporter He Weiwei. Today we're in Guangzhou, the capital of Guangdong, a business-oriented province in South China. And today we're going to be discussing the foreign investments, which is also going to be a key topic at the 4-day forum in Boao. And today joining me are three guests. Mr. Niu Baozhuang, professor from the South China University of Technology and member of the Guangdong Provincial Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, or CPPCC. Welcome. Mr. Hardy Sayedin, president of the American Chamber of Commerce in South China. Welcome. And also Mr. Peter Hallis, vice chairman of the EU Chamber of Commerce in South China. Great to have you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
And also, just to remind our audience, this CGTN Focus Group is live streamed on CGTN official website, our app, as well as other social media platforms such as Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Weibo. So please follow us closely and leave your comments. We'll try to answer your questions, and we'll discuss together this whole topic. All right, gentlemen, we are here in downtown Guangzhou. Right behind us is the central business district of Guangzhou. So my first question is to you, Hardy. And as a foreign investor, how do you see Guangdong's business environment here?
Well, Guangdong's business environment has always been the leading business environment in China. It was the first place to open up to foreign investment through the establishment of the Shenzhen area, the special economic zone. And of course, as a result of that, it continues to be one of the best, most transparent governments in China. It tends to have opened up far more than many other places in China. And naturally, when we look at the studies that we've done, our members have voted Guangzhou as the most favored destination for investment in China. And that represents a great deal and says a lot about what the possibilities in Guangdong are.
Yeah, what about you, Peter? Do you feel the same way?
Absolutely. Guangdong for 29 years running has been, leading in the GDP. We very much like also the private business, which is much stronger here in the south, which is very suitable for European business, because most of our business in Europe, we also privately run business. And now we can also see further down in Shenzhen, there's a lot of innovation coming, upgrading in the Pearl River Delta. Now with the Greater Bay Area Initiative, we are excited to be here.
And as I just mentioned, Guangdong is a business-oriented province in China. Actually, in 2018, 1 in 6 of China's total foreign direct investments came to Guangdong. So, Professor Niu, how do you see the secrets for Guangdong to achieve that?
I think there are at least 3 reasons. The first one is the business environment, just you have described it. As you can see in Guangdong, from the government to individual consumer, everyone is open-minded, efficient, hardworking. The government even makes the promise that you can start a new firm in 5 working days, which is very hard to do so. The second reason is we are in the world's factory. We have technologies, well-trained workers, plenty of component of suppliers, so you can start your new supply chain immediately here. We also have plenty of self-branded products for sale. They are of high quality but low price. So if you are doing international trade, you can easily find the resource here. The third reason is the return. According to the recent data, in the past 40 years, the return for FDI in Guangdong is the highest. So if you choose only one province to invest, maybe Guangdong is your choice.
Yeah, that's why Hardy and Peter, you came here, right?
Absolutely.
But let's talk about the problems. Hardy, what do you think is the most urgent problem or need in terms of foreign investment here?
Well, the biggest problem that companies have faced over the last several years is that there is really no mechanism for one of our companies to file a complaint if they are mistreated by a municipal government or local government, or if they have a dispute with a state-owned enterprise at the lower level of towns and municipalities. And that is why we're very happy to see the new China investment law is addressing that very situation by establishing a new mechanism, as we requested in our white paper and our special report. And I think going forward, that is going to solve a great deal of problems that we've had in the past.
And what about you, Peter? What do you think is the most urgent?
I think for us, for our European members here in South China, also in China in general, is the level playing field that we are still missing. I mean, level playing field basically means like we still feel that Chinese or local companies are regularly still preferred towards the foreign companies. But we can also see this is changing for the better. So this is one point. The other point is especially for our small and medium-sized enterprises that do not have, how can I say, access to the local government. Sometimes the bureaucracy for them is still a little bit challenging. And another part is also then having the visa regulations for foreign talent. So this is sometimes also, it still takes a bit of time to get the visa, especially if they are young talents.
But there are some arguments over this new law. Some foreign media says that this law will not make any difference. Do you agree or disagree? Why?
No, I totally disagree. I think any change is a good change. This is actually a fairly giant step forward by the Chinese government in combining 3 existing foreign investment laws into one and addressing a number of issues that we have raised over the years to create a more level playing field. Naturally, what we hope is that this law is a step towards having what we call a company law, very much like European Union or United States have, and not having a foreign investment law, because we do believe that to have a level playing field, that there will be one law that applies to foreign companies as well as domestic companies, as well as state-owned enterprises. Once that happens, I think we will have a totally level playing field. Until then, every step is a good step forward.
And what about you, Peter? Agree or disagree?
Well, I agree with Harley.
Okay, you agree with Harley?
Yes, exactly. I mean,
that means
Harley,
you don't
Thank you,
disagree.
I don't disagree, but from the perception point of view, of course, we can always make it better. And what we often see is like when new laws coming out, then the implementation takes some time. Something is basically being issued in Beijing, and until it's in the capital, until it's in the provincial capital, and then in the cities and districts, it takes some time. And that also sometimes gives this impression that although the law exists, but the implementation is lacking.
So implementation is sometimes crucial to the law, right? Professor Niu, the Ministry of Commerce last week, it announced that it is working on making some regulations to better implementation of this law. In terms of Guangdong, what is Guangdong doing now?
Actually, Guangdong's response is very quick. I have the corresponding regulations, the rules, the guidelines, blah, blah. However, due to time issues, they still need time to develop more scientific decisions. Several years ago, Guangdong have team policies, maybe you have heard, team policies and measures for foreign investment. And after the announcement of this new foreign investment law, they immediately revised the team policies and measures. One example is that under wide conditions, the employees from foreign companies like you will be offered a card that guarantees the citizen treatment. As Guangdong citizen, you can buy car, buy house, do a lot of things. Your children enjoy high education based on this car. So you will find that your daily life will be more convenient here.
So we really look forward to, next year, the law will take into effect next year, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Hardy, you mentioned the complaint mechanism. So currently, what is the channel for foreign investors for the complaint?
Well, currently there is no channel for complaint by foreign investments. If a foreign company is wronged at the municipal level, the adjudication is at that level. And most of the time the lines between the government We try to be as factual and as honest and fair as possible in our reports. And I think that's the only mechanism that has been where we could actually let the government know what is going on. Going in the future with the new law, every company will have the ability to raise the complaint through the new channel above the level where it can be influenced by a municipal government or a local government. And therefore the local governments will have to be very careful about how they conduct themselves and how they apply the law. And they will most likely abide by the rule of law and govern by the rule of law, where they have lacked that responsibility and that commitment in the past.
But in terms of the complaints, what are most of them about?
Most of the complaints are issues regarding inspections, regarding customs entry, regarding land issues. Many of our companies came here 20, 25 years ago, and the land where our companies' offices or facilities sit on are now much more valuable than they were when the companies arrived, and a lot of times they are being evicted without proper notice. They are losing their land, or local governments in most cases don't have a plan to help the foreign investment enterprise local to relocate properly to a new location. Those are most of the complaints that we hear. But in any case, not everything is a complaint. Our companies are doing extremely well. Most of our companies, the vast majority of our companies in South China, are already profitable if they've been here for 2 years or more. The profitability levels here are higher than any place else in China or for the world for that matter. So there's a lot of good things that are happening in China, but I think we're going to improve the level playing field, as was mentioned by Peter, to the point where we can compete fairly. Our companies have never shied away from competition. Actually, we love competition, and by creating a level playing field, I think this will help local companies improve their quality and their competitiveness, and therefore the consumer will benefit all the time as a result of every move that's made by the government.
Yeah, you know, talking about the level playing field, I think that there was a provision in this law. It's something called the Preentry national treatment. That means that we will treat foreign investments equally as the domestic investors. And Peter, does your EU Chamber of Commerce, and what are your company members' plan for reinvestments this year in 2019? Do they plan to increase or?
Yes, I mean, when we see our business confidence survey and also our position paper, where we gather all the knowledge from our member companies in the periphery, we can see that the business outlook, that the confidence is still very high, and there will be more businesses also expanding here. There are also, I mean, the new initiatives of the Greater Bay Area we are also following very closely, and also hope, of course, that European businesses can actively participate in that. But also coming back to to your question with the level playing field, we still, because it's still a foreign investment law, so we still feel like the very name of it still has this contradiction, or that it's still we are still not equal. So once there will be a law, an absolute law that basically says like we are all being treated equal, I think then we have achieved that. But this is a great step forward in this direction.
So what you mean is that once there is a foreign investment law, there is a bigger step forward, right?
Once there is a business law for everyone, exactly.
Okay, so it's no matter foreign or domestic, it's just an investment law. That is what you want, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, we're looking forward to that day. And Professor Niu, with so many foreign investors come in, are Chinese domestic companies ready for that competition?
I think it depends. For the huge Chinese companies, if they have invested a lot in the R&D, for example, Huawei, I believe he is ready. Especially in the 5G field. Yeah. However, for the small and medium-sized enterprises, that is SMEs, they are lack of money, so they might be suggested to form an alliance to jointly invest in technologies so as to face the competition from foreign investors face to face. They can also find some ways to cooperate with these foreign investors to share the cost, risk, and profits fairly. I believe it's a good chance to find the competition, as Charlie has mentioned. The overall innovation quality will be improved, but if your previous preparation is not sufficient, you have to think about it. We still have 1 year to prepare.
And Hardy, we just lost our signal, so please let's introduce this white paper again for us. What are your members' their plan for the reinvestments this year?
Certainly, the white paper, which is a quantitative analysis of the business environment in China, as I mentioned, 520 plus pages, really looks at everything that's happened in the past year in China, making recommendations based on experts' opinions from both sides of the Pacific. And we also do a quantitative study called the Special Report on the State of Business in South China. And when we're looking at our members and the people we studied, the outlook is very bright. People are optimistic towards the future of China's development and China's market. As a matter of fact, because of some uncertainties that were happening in the past year, some of the companies that had withheld some of their reinvestments from the profits they've made in China are now planning to reinvest that money this year because the market is still continuing to grow. One of the things that the press continues to talk about is China's economic slowdown, as if there is a demise of China that's on the horizon. That's far from the truth. China grew at 6.6% last year. Even at 6% growth, China adds another $800 billion to its economy this year, when we think it's going to grow at least at 6.4 or 6.5%. So the economy is continuing to grow, our markets are continuing to grow, and therefore our companies have to reinvest in order to continue to serve their customers and keep up with demand. When we look at the consumer market, we know that the retail sales in China last year, even though the economy was slower, grew at 8.1%. That's quite substantial when you consider that almost half of the GDP of China is now based on consumer spending. So and it's growing very rapidly in that direction. Because of that, we know that our companies have reported that their reinvestment in China to expand their existing operations is going to increase some 37.5% over 2018. 37.5% increase in reinvestment to expand existing facilities, existing operations in China. So the future is bright. We're hopeful. Now, of course, the one thing that we do want to continue to talk about is the fact that China should at some point move towards a single company law as opposed to foreign investment law. Because as Peter mentioned, by the simple fact that we are singled out as a different company as foreign investors, we're going to be discriminated against, because it's human nature to support your own companies. It's human nature for government officials to support state-owned enterprises. And I think if we move towards a single company law that applies equally to everybody, that will start to create a level playing field that will prevent local authorities from discriminating against foreign companies. But we are moving in the right direction, and I think the new foreign investment law is helping to get us to that point.
And looking to the near future, which areas do you expect to see an increase of foreign investments? Which areas, Peter?
Okay. Well, when we look at the past, especially the Pearl River Delta was the extended workbench of the world, and there was a lot of basic production. But in the last couple of years, especially last 10 years, it has drastically changed. There has been a huge upgrade, and it's very impressive to see that. I mean, when we look back a couple of years ago, we didn't have these kind of local champions, that you have here right now. So this is very encouraging to see, and it's also for the European business very encouraging to see, because we are also high-end producers, and high-end producers like to work together with other high-end producers, because the higher-end machines are being required to produce higher-end goods. So we see that actually the opportunities in the Greater Bay Area, they're actually coming up now.
And in Guangdong, Professor Niu, there are a lot of big projects that are underway. Can you tell me more about that?
I have heard the BASF project and ExxonMobil's project last year.
The BASFM. Sorry.
The BASF project and the ExxonMobil project.
Okay.
Actually, I have read a government report saying that in 2018 there are 166 foreign investment projects whose budget is above $100 million, and the total foreign investment volume is above $100 billion, which is amazing volume for just a province.
BASF is from Germany, right? A German chemical giant. Welcome to Guangdong. Yeah. And talking about the Boao Forum for Asia, which is now being held in Hainan Island, of course, there is going to be many discussions on the foreign investment law. So, what outcomes do you hope from this forum in terms of the foreign investment?
Well, I've been fortunate to have attended the Boao Forum every year since it began. It's as in China, Boao Forum is in constant transformation, changing from year to year. The attendance is increasing. The level of past leaders of the world, which always attend, is constantly increasing. The attention from the central government is increasing. Whenever you get the level of the high level of business people and government officials together from around the world, you are going to have better relationship, you're going to have better outcome, and you're going to have better understanding. So Boao Forum, in my opinion, is extremely important in the growth and prosperity and future of China.
And Peter, have you ever been to Boao?
Unfortunately, not yet.
You should go.
I would
next
like
time.
I would like to go. Yeah, I'm still waiting for an invitation.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, of course, since 2017, actually, when also Xi Jinping was attending the Davos, the real Davos, and then also afterwards in Boao, and then also listening to the speeches of Vice Premier Liu He, we felt like, yes, the talks are very impressive, and there's a lot of great points that have been talked about. You know, but as the English saying goes, you know, there's a talk the talk and walk the walk. So we are still also looking for walk the walk. Actually, the European Chamber also issued a special paper which was called 18 months after Davos. So taking up the speech of Mr. Xi, and then analyzing it and seeing, you know, what had happened within these 18 months. And we can actually say, although not everything has been accomplished, but since that time, actually a lot more has been accomplished than in a lot of time before that. You know? So it is, yeah, encouraging, and we have high hopes that also with this Boao Forum, we will have some other news that will help the European business.
Yes, the opening ceremony of Boao will be held on Thursday, where the Chinese Premier Li Keqiang will deliver a keynote speech. And Professor Niu, what are your expectations from Li's speech?
I expect more scientific decisions for the corresponding regulations and policies based on our new foreign investment law. This is my first expectation. The second one is I also expect more and more similar foreign investment laws will be issued in Asia countries, especially on the One Belt, One Road countries or regions, because nowadays many Chinese companies have the investment demand.
Yeah, indeed. There are still 3 days ahead, and we're looking for the Boao Forum for Asia, and we're looking for more discussions, especially on the sector, on the foreign investment law. But hopefully one day we'll talk about investment, not foreign investment, not domestic investment, just investment law.
Yeah.
Well, this is today's CGTN Focus Group on Boao Forum for Asia. Please stay tuned for our special coverage on this event. Bye for now.